Hi everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to the fourth session of Reset Dialogues to Reduce Food Loss and Waste in India. This is a panel discussion, business unusual, private sector action on food loss. Just to start with this session, I would first like to invite Dr. Anar Bhatt, Program Manager, Food, Land and Water, WRI India, to present the Caselet Compendium, a knowledge repository showcasing how 20 Indian origin companies are tackling food loss and waste across the country. We will also be formally launching this compendium for all of you towards the end of the panel discussion. So please, Anar.
The slide कैसे चेंज आप करोगे? Thank you so much, Chirag. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to present the key highlights in brief from Tackling Food Loss and Waste, a compendium of innovative business solutions from across India. So this compendium features 19 innovative solutions introduced by Indian origin businesses. So how did we go about, identifying and selecting these businesses? We went through a step-by process, scanned various data sources such as investor portfolios, startup awards, even networks, stock exchanges, looking at, companies focused on food and agri-business and working across the post-harvest supply chain, and looking at various waste management solutions as well. So that's how we zeroed in on 19 solutions introduced by businesses, which had very core strategic focus on reducing food loss and waste, and that those were integrated in their sustainability priorities. So these 19 businesses are divided in two. So those of us who were there with us in the morning as well, how we differentiate between food loss and food waste. So we have 10 solutions on the food loss side and 9 solutions on the food waste side. And these are, spread across India. So what are the businesses that are working on the food loss side doing? They're offering post-harvest storage solutions, market access, promoting sustainability, community engagement. And those businesses working on food waste reduction are leveraging innovative technologies to prevent food waste, making surplus out of food waste. So there are diverse models spread across the country. So these are the 10 businesses on the food loss side, and they have operations in various states of across the length and breadth of the country. So just to sort of, and many of them are also presenting, exhibiting at the exhibition hall, and it would be great to, for you to go and understand some of these models more closely. But just to sort of, go through a select few of them to represent the diversity of solutions that they have introduced. So for instance, RuCart offers cold storage solutions, micro cold storage solutions up until 50 kg for smallholder farmers. Raheja Food Processing provides solar processors. Green Pod Labs, a very innovative biotech company that uses plant-based active packaging. So we also have Arya, an agri-tech platform offering near-farm micro-warehousing solutions. So these are amongst the 10, loss solutions, food loss solutions, that the Indian businesses are introducing and the compendium features. On the food waste side, we have 9 solutions, and these are also quite a range, and also spread across the, all over the country with operations in different states. And so Zomato was here at the opening session, which is also featured, and you must have heard about how they, try to reduce the cancelled orders, food waste from cancelled orders. So these are different, and they're a for-profit listed companies, but they've really integrated this in their sustainability strategies. And we also have Hasur Dala Innovation that integrates waste workers in awareness campaign We have Waste Link that works on that part of the food supply chain where we have waste on the food processing side, and how do we leverage it to create resources out of it, like animal feed. So that's an interesting solution that they have introduced. Swaha, which offers decentralized food-based solutions like composters and biogas units. So these are just sort of highlighting the different solutions that these businesses have introduced. And I would like to end here because we do have a very interesting panel discussion ahead. Over to you, Chirag.
Thanks a lot, Anna, for presenting this Caseslate's compendium to our audience. Now I'd like to introduce you all to the speakers for our panel discussion. First, we have Devyani Hari, Director, Center for Responsible Business, who will also be moderating this panel discussion for us. Welcome, Devyani. Then we have Dr. Anupama Panghal, Associate Professor, National Institute of Food Technology, Entrepreneurship and Management. Welcome, Anupama. Diten Chatterjee, Head of Corporate Affairs, Tetra Pak. Welcome, Diten. Gangapati Ajitan, Director, Tamil Nadu Banana Federation. Welcome, sir. Shweta Lamba, Program Manager, Food, Land and Water, WRI India. Welcome, Shweta. Then we have Sachin Sharma. I think they will be joining us virtually. Okay. Hi, Sachin.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you so much.
So, Sachin Sharma, Vice President and Head Agri and Dairy Operations, ITC. Then we have Sanjay Sacheti, Country Head and ED, Olam Agri. Hello, sir. Now I would like to invite Devyani Hari to please lead the panel discussion for us.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I hope everyone's feeling a little recharged after tea. After a long time, I have a session not after lunch, and I'm so ever thankful to WRI for that, right? So thank you so much. First of all, a big thank you to WRI to continue hosting this important topic. I think when we talk about food loss and waste, I don't think I have to share numbers anymore. We know that this is a very important topic, right? What we are struggling with, that while we are seeing great action, how do we get more and more action? And I think that's what the panel here today is for, to share, in addition to what Anar beautifully laid out, right? That there's already great traction happening. How do we move from 19 to 1900? Businesses looking at that, right? That's the ambition that we should look for. I do have one request. Why my wish list, when I looked at the session, business unusual, private sector action on food loss. At the end of the panel, let's see if we can actually come out with a feeling that this becomes business as usual, because that really is what we need to aim for. Because I don't think that this can now remain in silos. It cannot remain as incremental action. It cannot remain as something that we consider outside of the way we operate. And when I say we, it is the private sector, but it is all of us as well. It is all stakeholders. But today we are focusing on the private sector because we know that a lot of the food in the country actually moves through the private sector. And we know that, you need interventions at different levels, whether you talk about, the large corporates, whether you talk about the MSs, whether you talk about the farmer producer companies, and it has to make sense for everyone. And that's what we are trying to capture in the conversations today. Since we have a very very eclectic panel with us. I'm not going to do much of the talking. I'm actually looking forward to learning and listening to them. Just a few house rules, because we would also like to have some time for the audience interaction. My request is that if we can keep our interventions to about 4 minutes for each question. There are 2 rounds of questions that we would like to go with. And we have somebody who will indicate the time, and please do not dislike me if I have to interrupt you. You know, it's something that I have been tasked with, and I would like, so that we have more time to discuss with the audience. I do recognize the fact that each of you could actually hold a 75-minute session on your own. You know, we are mindful of the fact, but let's see. And I'm just going to change the order a bit, because I understand that Mr. Sharma may have to leave. So if it's all right, Sachin, I'd like to come with you, because as a large corporate, as ITC, you're working a lot with farmers and supply chains across various crops, right? Now, what in your experience is working out very well, good experiences, impactful, and you are actually seeing the food loss reducing at the farm gate or the procurement stage? Can you also share what benefits are you seeing for the company as well as the farmers that you are working with? So Sachin, over to you, please.
Thank you so much. And first of all, my sincere apologies for not joining in person. I planned for it, but last evening, because of certain urgent reason, I had to cancel my travel, and I'm grateful that I've been allowed to participate virtually in this meeting. So I'll keep it very crisp as you advised, Devyani. So basically, in ITC, we work with over 20 crop value chains in India, over 20 states, and we've been working with almost 4 million farmers. Out of that, now with our latest new version of eChopal, which we call ITC Mars, we have digitized almost 2.2 million farmers. And all these farmers are now pivoted around farmer producer organizations, which are around 2,000 plus FPOs we are working with. So our philosophy has been working with in value chains, and food loss prevention and waste prevention remains core to this philosophy. So we have actually worked out our interventions, around ITC Mass and leveraging the core of FPO. And the interventions around food loss are in 2 buckets. One is on-farm interventions, and another is the near farm, what we call, or from say farm gate up to our warehouses or the markets. The interventions have been, designed. The whole idea is that there should be, say, wastage prevention, loss prevention. Value should go to the farmer, and it should also get captured in the system. So in terms of the on-farm interventions, we focus a lot on farmer trainings and crop advisory. So through our digital app, all the advisories related to say prevention of food loss, right? Actions like time of harvesting, harvesting indicators, and other informations are being provided to the farmer. In fact, leveraging AI and other tools, we have a very smart crop calendar, which actually give nudges to the farmer basis weather patterns and other things, including harvesting, so that farmer can actually harvest the crop in a right way. Apart from it, we also do a lot of farmer trainings, which we provide on good post-harvest management practices at a district level. So in fact, we have conducted almost 1,900 trainings, in last 1 year, which focus on various aspects of, crop cultivation, including food loss. What we have also learned is that not only training is sufficient, so mechanization is also equally important. So promotion of right farm mechanization, be it right harvesters, use of right type of harvesters. So we have covered almost, 60,000 farmer groups, on this area itself. Then another aspect is that while you help farmer harvesting or cultivating well, how do you also redesign the whole model so that the wastages can be reduced? We have seen our conventional way of grain handling, wherein there are a lot of wastages, multiple intermediaries are there. To tackle that issue, we have remodeled the entire procurement around FPO, leveraging our digital platform Mars. So FPOs are being helped set up buying centers in the villages in a scientific way, with scientific quality assaying, and this crop is directly being procured and directly goes to the warehouses. We against a conventional center wherein it goes to an aggregator, then aggregator takes it to a mandi, and then there are multiple handlings in mandi. Again, weighment, we all know there have been various losses, and then this crop goes to any end user. So here it is directly from farmer to FPO aggregation, and it is directly coming to the our centers. And these are not only interventions in the grain value chains, but equally we do in spices, wherein post-harvest drying infra has been provided. Again, the cold storage interventions are being done. In dairy, which we are working in Eastern India, we have got cold chain up to solar-based and intermittent power supply-based low-cost cold chain solutions are being provided in the village itself. There also the principle remains same: on-farm through training and advisory, and supply chain interventions through right infra. So cutting across not only grains but milk, but spices, medicinal aromatic plants. So in multiple crop value chains with same principles, we are working. To answer to your question of the what value we capture is about the quality. The wastage reduction in the system helps in the entire value chain. Supply chain become much more leaner and efficient by way of directly connecting with farmer, and we also get a very good traceability of what we are sourcing through this network.
Thank you so much. I think on multiple counts, one, you kept to the time limit beautifully, so thank you so much for that. But I think a number of points, because you talked about capacity. I think you talked about a collaboration and a trust building, right? That when you invest in your supply chains, then it all automatically results in value creation for everyone in the supply chain. And you talked about shortening of the supply chain, looking at local infrastructure, and very interestingly, you talked about AI, because that's a big elephant in the room. That is it good, is it bad? How do I leverage? Who gets you leverage? So thank you so much for touching upon that. I will come back to you in the next round to understand that how do we scale this up? How do we make it everyone's interest? I'm now going to come to Dr. Anupama, because you've been doing a lot of research. And when we talk about food loss and food waste reduction, all of us are clear that it's a value chain approach, that different stakeholders have to come together. So based on your research and entrepreneurship, your value chain model research, right? Where do you think you're seeing innovations, and how can we de-risk and mainstream these innovations in the supply chains? So over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Devyani. As an academician and a researcher associated with these fields, what we have noticed is there are a lot of innovation. I mean, even if I would say at the university level also, students do come up with very innovative ideas, be it upcycled products or be it other waste management solutions. And when we go towards industry side, there also, especially with the small startups and MSMEs, we have seen people coming up with good ideas. But again, the constraint which we realized is, I mean, personally, I have realized on two fronts. One is at university level. I'm from NIFTM University, so we keep on getting time to time lot of you can say proposals or requests from small startups and MSME side to handhold them and provide consultancy services. We do try that also, and same we try to do for the students. What we have understood is there is no dearth of you can say innovation, but the lacuna here is how to link it from the market side to the consumer's end, and from the back end from the policy side. I just share one of my experience. Once we were working on a project on blockchain traceability, and we worked for honey and coriander powder. And we were working with Himathan Society in Dehradun, and Cropin was the technology service provider. So everything was fine. I mean, we developed POC as well for both the commodities. But as soon as the project ended, and when it came like, can this project now, I mean, after completion of this project, can this company continue doing the blockchain-based traceability? So the reservations from the company side are, where is the market need? Because if you are spending more on, because definitely blockchain traceability is going to reduce the wastages, but it's going to add to your cost, considering the current ecosystem. So if you are adding to your cost, so and your product is getting costly, so are there any takers for that particular product? Is there anyone ready to buy that product? And on the other hand, if we want to, I mean, carry out something extensively, so are there any policy support support, or are there any regulations, or is there any, like, I should not call it as financial support, there might be some incentives from the government side. So basically what we have realized as an academician is it's not only possible with the collaboration of industry and academia only. We need a complete ecosystem. We need policy support from the government side. Then we need industry, obviously interest and their trust as well. From the academic side, we need those innovation mind, and again, there should be sharing resource mechanism. Especially sometimes we get stuck up with IPR issues, because whenever any small or big company comes up with any collaborative project, so the big question comes about IPR sharing. And so many, large MNCs and big companies, they do have their IPR mechanism, but when we work with small companies, so it becomes an issue. NIFTM has developed a lot of technologies which are towards food waste management. And when we try to give those technologies to small companies, so such type of issues come, especially with respect to IPR, resource sharing, and then the market. Because up to product development, it's perfectly fine, but exploring the market for that particular product and technology is a constraint. So that's what we have realized in this particular domain.
Thank you so much. I think you've laid out quite succinctly on what the challenge is and where the gaps are that we need to address. Perhaps in the next round, it would also be good to understand from your experience if you have a success story that you feel, because I think that will also be encouraging. But these are all important points, because unless we address them, then we are not moving beyond the prototype stage. So thank you so much for that. I am now going to come to Mr. Ajitan, right? Because you represent a very important stakeholder, the farmer, right? And we always find in sustainability and in value chains that the one at the end of the value chain often gets excluded, right? So it is good to understand from your perspective and how, the Tamil Nadu Banana Federation is working, because you've moved a very good model of farmer outreach to co-ownership, right? And how has this transition been for you, and how have you looked at the issue of food loss, and what is it meant for your members?
Thank you, first of all, for the WRI team who has invited me to share my thoughts, and very good evening to everybody. I go back to year 2005. I'm a first generation graduate. I'm a fourth generation banana grower in my family. So in 2004-05, we had a drought-like situation wherein there was a glut in the market, and I hardly able to realize 10 rupees per bunch. And per acre, my realization was just 9,000 rupees, which I was literally weeping. And we were writing to the government for some compensation and all. So likewise, not only myself, many people, because the area of production was so high in Tamil Nadu, so farmers were really finding it very difficult to realize the cost of cultivation even. So that was the situation wherein we were lobbying with the government for asking for some compensation and all. At the time, Tamil Nadu Agriculture University just called all the progressive farmers and asked us to form a federation and apex body of all the organization pan Tamil Nadu. So in that way, we formed a banana growers federation which was representing more than about 6,000 banana growers in Tamil Nadu. And from that day onwards, we were given a lot of capacity building exercises and familiarized with a lot of markets, and even we had a program on supply chain management with the Michigan State University of USA. So that really made us to think about how to really streamline and understand the market and the market-driven cultivation, all other aspects we studied, and we in turn had a lot of meetings with our fellow farmers. And that was really a time when in 2014, Government of India asked us to, because of the post-liberalization issue, we were asked to form a banana FPOs, the farmer producer organization. So our Pan Tamil Nadu Federation, which was doing a service, was converted into a business arm called Tamil Nadu Banana Growers Company, producer company. So basically, after becoming a company with more than about 1,067 banana growers as shareholders, we just thought of really understanding first about the market economy, market-driven cultivation, and subsequently, banana being a perishable commodity, we even thought of doing some value addition so that our unsold surplus could be transformed into a value-added product and net revenue for the farmer will increase. So the first one was the solar dehydration. In the year 2014, we started with a small unit of solar dehydration, going to Thailand and understanding from Silpakorn University. So from that day, we just ventured into a value addition, and there is no looking back. Now we have 22 products from banana, and we have got very state-of-the-art cold storage. From the morning, I think we had a different session about the energy requirement of cold storage. We have got biomass powered cold storage, wherein our farm waste will be used to burn, and when you ignite the fire in the boiler, then your AC starts working. So that is how whatever we had a surplus, we could able to store it at the farm level. We have got the capacity of about 10 to 12 tons cold storage in our farm level, and we use all the farm waste to store our product and to ripen it scientifically. So we have a ripening facility also in that chamber, so we are doing it. And subsequently, we ventured into a enzymatic dehydration of banana into juice, fresh juice, clear, ready to serve clear juice. And now we are trying to utilize all the waste that are there. So with the after harvesting of banana, we have left over the pseudo stem, the leaves, everything is there. The leaves and everything, when it is dried, it is fired in the boiler to maintain the cold storage. At the same time, the pseudo stem, the fiber is extracted out, and lot of women entrepreneurs have been encouraged to make made-ups, and even saris are made by our traditional weavers. So that really showed the way, and thanks for the universities and research institutions who have given technologies at the time when we are in need of it. And our farmers have given very good support. And whatever we try to venture, there was a spellbound support from the farmers' angle, because of which we could able to really process further. Otherwise, it is just not possible. Now we have come to the stage of really preparing a banana complex, wherein we have got 22 products of banana related products are being produced and marketed. Even in Amazon, our products are being marketed. So that way, it is an example how the farmer producer organizations can definitely create wonders. That can be replicated, and now our venture is to replicate our business model.
I'm going to, have to request you to stop. We'll come to you in the second round. But
Okay,
I think
thank you very much. It's just like telling stories and nothing else. I have no
and that's all, I mean, that's the best way, right, to engage. So I think it's...
So anyway, I'll come back with the policy intervention for the banana growers of India.
We can come to that, but I think you brought a very good example of circular economy, but what I heard here was a mindset, the ambition, and also keeping yourself updated and being market driven, right? So I think that is very important to understand what the markets want, where can you add capacity. You've leveraged on technology, innovation, so thank you so much for sharing that. I am now going to come to Mr. Sanjay Sancheti, right? Because you're working with a lot of global agri value chain. So from your experience, what are some of the interventions that you are doing to reduce food loss, and can you touch upon, both global experiences and something specific for India? Would be great to hear.
Thank you, Devyani. I think delighted to be here participating in this discussion on a very relevant topic. I think for developing countries like India, avoiding food loss and food waste is a clear imperative. And given the kind of losses which are reported across the value chains, across multiple commodity value chains, this is the need of the hour and the focus which this issue requires. I think cannot be overemphasized. Now, I would just like to explain a little bit about what we do, because that would set the context on how we are going about, working on food loss and food waste. We started off as a supply chain manager of agri commodities with a very trading-oriented business model. But over a period of time, in search of growth, we started expanding across the value chain, got into upstream, got into downstream, and that allowed us to play the role of a true value chain aggregator. And that is the key, that is the crux of the matter, that this business model which is that of a value chain aggregator allows us to intervene across the value chain and ensure that end-to-end food waste is minimized. Just to give you an example, over a period of time, we have got into large rice farms. So we are farmers. We have got into rice farming. It is integrated with complete harvesting operations, then further integrated into milling operations, and further integrated into brand-based distribution of rice. So you can see that right from farm to markets, farm to the shelf, we are integrated in this particular business model. And across other value chains, we have different variants of this kind of a value chain integrated play. Now, what this allows us is to work with other value chain players and intervene in their activities, help them in their activities, which generate or probably avoid food waste. So in this example which I gave you, we ourselves either do complete farming or we work with the smallholder farmers and then bring that produce to our factory, and then onwards the product travels to the shelf. So this is where, at least in our farms are digitized, harvesting is digitized, it is maturity-based harvesting, food generation and loss is monitored through various devices at multiple stages. So at the plant level, at the harvesting level, at the pre-milling stage, post-milling stage, packing stage, and then delivery to the downstream markets. So this is something which we are able to do in this model because we have complete control over the value chain. But if you go to a different variant where, let's say, if we are running a coffee plantation and that is forward integrated into a green bean coffee factory. So we again control the farm or the plantation, we control the primary processing, but thereafter the beans travel to, let's say, an instant coffee factory which is beyond our control. But again, at each stage, we would control the waste, measure the generation, measure the waste, and then work through various digital and physical ways to control this waste. This is where we get involved in training the farmers, applying digital technology, working with supply chain service partners who might be involved in, let's say, the harvesting operations. And they are the ones then who actually help us avoid the waste. Factories are within our control, and factories are smart factories. Many of these factories are smart factories where multi-level tracking of output is done, and that can be controlled. Now, some of these examples work well where you have developing countries with a lot of institutional void or fragmented value chains where there aren't players in each value chain step who can help us control these losses. So that's where we try and intervene and we try and control this entire set of activities. But coming to India, which is a fairly developed market where value chain intermediaries are very strong, very competitive, the situation is not very conducive to do an end-to-end control of these activities. I can give you the example of a very traditional activity, which is traditional industry, which is sugarcane milling. This is where we do complete harvesting of cane with our farmers. We don't do farming. So this is completely maturity-based farming. So we ensure that maximum sugar content is protected. Then the cut to crush time is controlled through various, again, tracking mechanisms, which means that you cut at 10 o'clock in the morning. By evening, 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock, it is crushed and sugar is extracted in another 10 to 12 hours, or let's say 20 hours. So you ensure that the loss is minimized at the farm level, it is minimized at the farm to factory level, within the factory, and then beyond when you deliver it to the customer. So these are the models which we use by doing this value chain integration, by participating with various value chain players, training them, and deploying technology that food loss is avoided. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. I think some common themes we heard on capacity, mechanization, digitization, but you've also brought the very important element of measurement. That at every stage, unless we measure, we don't really know how much we are saving and what we can do. So I think thank you so much for bringing that element in. I apologize for having to cut you, but I would like to now come to Mr. Deepten. And you handle a very important aspect, right? Packaging. And it's a little dichotomy because packaging plays an important role in reducing food loss, but there's also a lot of pressure on packaging to be sustainable and the kind of materials you use. So how do you work on, packaging so that it reduces food loss, but also ensuring that the sustainability stays?
Thanks for the question, Devyani. I think I'll start with probably Tetra Pak's motto, which is to keep food safe and available everywhere. Simple motto, but we stand by it in the way we operate and the kind of products that we offer to the customers. The other aspect is that everything that we do within, especially within the packaging space, we try and ensure that the product, while it does keep food safe, but we are also very focused on keeping it sustainable at all times, right? Another point maybe I would like to also bring to your, into this panel is, we are very worried about the fact that globally we are seeing a lot of food being lost, being wasted. There is a lot of food loss. And I think our focus as a packaging and a processing company is that what we have realized is what we term it as the hidden middle, is that while there is a lot of focus inevitably on the farmers and a lot of focus on what the consumers are having, but in the middle, which is the entire value chain across right from processing, packaging, transportation, logistics, there is probably lack of either support from the government, from the policymakers, or probably a lack of understanding of what is really required as an enabler to make sure that the food remains safe by making that right investment across this hidden middle. I think keeping that in mind, I'll also like to mention that as an aspiration, we keep that in mind, and we also aspire to have the world's most sustainable food package. How we do it, I can share a couple of examples into ensuring that our packaging material really is not only keeping food safe. For example, the technology that we fundamentally use is called the aseptic packaging technology, right? Which is nothing but, it does a couple of things. One is there is no risk of contamination at any point of time. Number two is there is no requirement of refrigeration because the technology itself removes any sort of microbial contamination, any sort of exposure to oxygen, air, light, and therefore 6 months to 8 months is the average shelf life without any refrigeration. Okay, that both of them, when combined, they keep food safe at all times. Now I can give you a couple of examples of what we are doing, especially in India, in the Indian context. One of our offerings that we have is called Tetra Rex, which is nothing but a retortable packaging, right? And what it does is that because it's a retortable package and keeps the food inside, packaged and sterilized at the same time, on an average, the shelf life is up to 2 years. And I'm talking of things which we consume within India, things like rasam, right? Rajma. Now, these are consumable items which we normally don't really foresee that there is a way to actually keep it safe for 2 years, but this is something that we have started doing. We have also realized that mango, for example, as an example, mango pulp, again, very short shelf life, but we have partnered with one of our co-packers to actually put this pulp into the retortable packaging, and we are exporting it now to overseas markets. We have also started now moving towards a more, I would say, reducing the non-biodegradable aspects of our packaging. So we have now started using what we has is the plant-based polymer, right? Which are traceable to, so they are made from sugarcane-based biopolymers. We have also started expanding the usage of paper layer. So usually in a Tetra Pak carton, it will be about 70% paper-based layer. We've now started increasing it to 80 to 90%, which is essentially 90% of the package is biodegradable. And we are, at the same time, we are also trying to kind of constantly innovate around how do we reduce the reliance on, let's say, the non-biodegradable layers. So we have started, for example, we are the first packaging company to introduce certified recycled polymers starting this year. And we were the first to be well ahead of the curve. We were ready with the solution. Now we are expecting our customers to also start adopting it, because that is a combination, that is an example of food systems, keeping food safe and sustainability at the same time. So I'll stop there. I have got a bunch of other examples, but I'm sure you would like to.
No, thank you. I have follow-up questions for everyone, right? But I know we don't have the time for that, so it will be good perhaps to do deeper conversations with everybody. Because you talked about the lack, of the hidden middle, and you talked about the value chain, Mr. Sancheti, right? And said that this is where we are actually coming and intervening, because that is what is needed. So, right, there is a clear case of collaboration. They're offering a solution where you see a gap, and you've brought out the point of policy. But it's a constant struggle that, and I like the point that you're talking about innovation, but it's not just for Tetra Pak, but you're saying how do we work with our customers, how do we work with our suppliers, and we start upscaling some of these solutions, which is a huge investment, not money-wise, but mindset-wise. So thank you for sharing that. I'm now going to come to the second round of questions, and where, I would like you to just think about that if you want to upscale, based on what you are doing. How is it that we can upscale and make, the adoption much more? And Mr. Sharma, coming back to you, your experience, if you can touch upon what do you think would really help in larger adoption, and especially touch upon the issue or your experience of using data and digital tools to identify the hotspots and implementing targeted interventions. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. So you actually in a way embedded answer in the question itself. So I think scalability is very important for any solution to have wider impact. So here, while I am explaining more on the agri side, which is again say on farm and near farm, and as ITC we have a principle of or philosophy of addressing food loss up to the consumer level. So we are into various brands, then manufacturing, and then trade marketing, distribution. So there are various interventions at that leg also. But coming back to where we were discussing, so here what we feel is that if you have to really have any scalable solution in Indian context, you need to address different aspects. One is the entire fragmentation of agriculture. So we have smallholder farmers, land holdings are small. So you need to find solutions which are fitting to their need. And second thing is also that it should be also customizable. So the way we operate is when we look at while keeping the core principles in same, we design solutions which are apt to the respective value chains and also able to address the local needs. So one key element of the entire work what we are doing in value chain is the consolidation or say collectivization of farmers. So in form of FPOs and farmer groups. So what we have seen is that this is a very good tool to train farmers and also help them adopt many of these solutions at scale. Second thing is about leveraging digital. So that's where actually the personalization and scalability both come in place. So for example, if I talk about, we have leveraged AI and machine learning in our ITC Mars app, and we have created customized crop calendars for farmers. So every region, every crop, the calendar will actually tell farmers the specific, actions to be taken up, what needs to be done if you have, say, weather at the time of harvesting. For example, prepone the harvesting or postpone, dry, whatever. So there are various such tools which are available in through digital. Another is leveraging digital surveillance and remote sensing. So you can do crop surveys, you can understand the impact, you can also see the hotspots and what is the right estimated harvesting window, both biotic stress, abiotic stress. So a lot of it can be done through this technology. Uh, Another enablement of technology is that our field force is having smartphones, and they are also equipped through our ITC Mars, say tracking, say applications. So they are able to track about the crop health. They are able to provide the right advisory. Next, when I talk about the entire supply chain intervention, that's where the complete digital layering, which give us through the farm level traceability, but also the quality aspects, also the visibility of how much FPO is bought and how it is will come to your warehouse, and then the entire within warehouse, the say tracking of crop health and storability. So there are a lot of use cases wherein say digital is actually playing a role and helping us scale in multiple regions, multiple crop value chains, and multiple set of farmers. And same way we leverage it not only at this level, but in manufacturing, we have such interventions. We have interventions in our trade marketing and distribution because we are a full chain, food company. And just last point before I conclude is that we have also partnered with WRI, and we are globally participating in initiative called 10 20K 30, which is about 10 companies globally, working with minimum 20,000 farmers to make an impact and reduce food loss by 2030. So such initiatives also helped us, getting a lot of cross learning across the globe and in Indian context, and have been very useful.
Thank you so much. I think a lot of useful examples there, and perhaps we can do a little compendium for them only and see what the solutions are. I'm going to come back to Dr. Anupama. And I think you very nicely laid down all the challenges and the gaps that we need to address, right? If you can share that, where are you seeing the innovations and why do we, I mean the business case, right? If you look at it, that why is the business case there to look at Foodlace, why innovator startup?
We have tried many times to go and deep dive into supply chain of bigger companies, but I can understand there are challenges on their front also, but what I could see is this is the only way industry academia can collaborate and come out with more better solutions. We have an incubation center also, NDBIF governs that at NIFTM. So we are seeing that many startups are coming up with ideas. The only thing is they can start and they can carry out nice outcomes out of their ideas, but again the thing is scaling up. So when it comes to scaling up, so they look for collaborators and the financial support.
No, thank you so much for highlighting that gap, and I think that important linkage of industry and academia, that research is geared towards what industries want, what markets want. And I think we heard Mr. Ajeetan also touch upon that we understood where was the market heading, and what did they want. But I quite thank you for actually candidly putting it out there that it is sometimes difficult to achieve this collaboration, and perhaps as we go ahead and look at climate commitments, as we look at how this industry academia collaboration can actually be more fruitful. So thank you for that. And I'm just going to come back to Mr. Ajeetan. And again, my apologies for having to cut you, but you shared some beautiful examples, and if you can share that, what financing and policy collaboration can help upscale, and how can we bring this thinking to across other FPOs?
Actually, from Tamil Nadu, we are opposed to lot of cyclonic winds during monsoon season. So what happens, as a pre-harvest practice, we used to tie up with a supporting pole or the banana plantations. But when the velocity of winds were really high, most of the farmers fall prey to the fury of the nature. So naturally, the pre-harvest losses are so high. Before harvesting, they lost the crop, and ultimately, whatever the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana is not covered for the horticulture crops. Because horticulture, these Fasal Bima Yojana is incentivized by both central and state governments. So the state governments give more priority for the food crops rather than horticulture crops. So they don't incentivize in terms of paying the premium to the by the farmer. So that is the biggest problem. Now we are trying to negotiate with the private players, having formed an FPO. So private insurance company are coming out with proposals, and we are trying to negotiate and get a better insurance coverage even on a weather-based scale for the farmers. That is one point. Secondly, in the morning they were telling about the pack house practices. So we are appealing to the central as well as state government to put a block level pack houses for the horticulture produce. Unless pack houses are there, we will not be changing the produce into a commodity. So once if the commodity is washing, grading, sorting, all these practices are followed, then automatically your crop fetches a very good price, and farmers will also be realizing better revenue. At the same time, whatever the farm waste, that is the leftover waste, can be managed at a single point level. They need not be carried to the marketplace and then put a litter all around the marketplace. So these are the two important factors that we wanted to highlight, and in policy interventions to incorporate these two things. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
No, thank you so much for those wonderful learnings as well as very clear asks. Because I think sometimes it's easier to say that, okay, let's start with ABC, and then we keep working our way up. So thank you so much. Mr. Sacheti, I'm going to come back to you, and from your experience, right, and you've got a good value chain perspective. You've also highlighted some of the challenges of working with value chains in India, which are very controlled. That if we want to scale up these initiatives, what according to you are some of the things that we'll need to address, and is the way forward?
So I think, let me, I'll talk with the Indian context in mind. I think we have a very conducive environment for avoiding waste in India. And why I say so is because of two or three factors. One is that culturally we are a very waste averse society. We don't like to waste things. We are taught right from childhood to, to consume and consume with avoidance of waste. Two, we don't, whatever be our, socio-economic development stage, our kitchens are still kitchens. They have not been pantryized like some of the other countries where over-processing of food inherently leads to higher waste, or, food getting converted into feed. But in India, that doesn't happen. All kinds of material gets consumed and consumed in full. So I think given these two factors, there are 3-4 enablers which are required, and maybe some initiatives also. First and foremost is that the farm laws which were supposed to aid farm factory integration and allow large processors or exporters or factory owners to buy directly from the farms and integrate them in their value chain in a true sense. I think that can be a good enabling feature, because that would allow this circuitous supply chain to be avoided, the mandi-oriented supply chain, which had a good context at some point in time, but today's times I think we need to move away from there. So that's one part. I think the second one is, which Sachin alluded to, which is how do you take care of fragmented land holdings? Because deployment of resources in a fragmented supply chain, fragmented farmer base is always a challenge. Whatever large conglomerates like ITC, to whatever extent they are willing to invest, it is always a challenge dealing with 100,000, 200,000 or 300,000 farmers. So how do you propagate land leasing, which allows integration, which allows farms to get converted into larger ones, or land pooling, where FPOs or farmer societies ultimately do agriculture at a pool level, rather than just doing market linkages or input supplies or those peripheral activities, where actually land truly gets aggregated at the farming level, and such large farming organizations come up which will allow deployment of resources and technology. So that's the second part which I feel that would be important. I think the third one, which we are seeing very encouraging signs in India, is the emergence of new kind of players, these agri-tech startups, who are playing a very good role to link farms to factories again, or work with the farmers to create mutual value. And their entire business model is based on creation of that incremental mutual value with the farmers, helping them become more productive, more efficient, and then that additional value, the incremental value, gets distributed in some rational manner. I think the emergence of these players, which will allow these new business models to deploy technology, to integrate farms, to educate farmers, and generate efficiencies, and then link them up to the next value chain steps. I think that is something which is critical, and I am very confident. We are already working with such players, and we can see the potential for, as I keep repeating that term, mutual value creation. I think these are some things which I'm pretty confident that over a period of time, I don't know whether 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, these trends will definitely play out, and India will become a more competitive, less wastage oriented agricultural value chain.
No, thank you so much. Very well laid out. I think some very clear takeaways from there. I've done some assessments of food loss and waste, so I beg to differ a little that I think we are waste averse, but we still end up wasting a lot, especially at mandi level or at, even in our houses now because of how our lifestyles are. So I do agree. It's there, but I think we need to rekindle that, and we need to sort of make it a way of life. Somewhere with the fast lifestyles, e-commerce, perhaps we are losing that connect, So I'm sorry to contradict, but I feel that while what you're saying is right, but we are also seeing, yes, fundamentally, yes. Fundamentally, we are like that. So thank you so much. And I'm going to come back to you, Dipten, because we talked about packaging, right? But I think there are other elements when it comes to innovation which help in reducing food loss. And I would like you to please touch upon, especially with respect to processing equipment or other aspects, which help in reducing this whole issue of food loss and promoting sustainability.
Sure. Thanks, Devyani. So I think from a processing equipment perspective, there are two ways to look at it. One is we have been constantly looking at ways to improve the sustainability quotient of our own equipment. Okay. The other is from an external perspective, what kind of partnerships or what kind of associations can we do beyond just Tetra Pak, right? Like looking outside. So from an equipment perspective, I think what we have started doing is that we have started adopting a lot of new technologies which have started to show clear results in terms of being more sustainable, better managed, and yet kind of provide a much better value to the customer. I can take an example. We now adopt what we call as the one-step technology for all our dairy processing equipment, which is nothing but combines several stages, which is primarily standardization, separation, blending, and heat treatment. All of it is combined into one process versus the traditional way of doing it, which is to do a pre-treatment, pasteurization, and storage. Now, what is the benefit? The benefit is clearly the heat treatment or the heat requirement goes down by almost 30%. Fresh water requirement goes down by about 35%. Energy requirements are about 40% lower. And overall carbon footprint is lower by close to 44%. So as and when we are adopting any innovative technology, our focus is always, is it really innovative and sustainable at the same time? Another example is in our cottage cheese making process, what we do is now we have started adopting the use of vertical blenders or VCC blenders, which let's say if compared with traditionally used horizontal blenders, almost 90% of the particles of the cottage cheese are retained during the processing, the entire process, which is effectively, if you see it in one way, 90% of the wastage is reduced using this vertical blender. But beyond that, what else are we doing? Beyond outside of Tetra Pak, we have also thought about how can we leverage, let's say, scalable partnerships, right? So what are, let's say, for example, startups doing? So last year, for example, we started what we teamed up with DPIIT and we ran a program called Startups by Tetra Pak. In collaboration with one aspect in our plant in Chakan in Pune, we have what is called as the Product Development and Innovation Center. Now in collaboration with this center, which is nothing but, it kind of looks at newer formulations, kind of looks at working with startups to kind of help them in providing innovative solutions. Globally, one of the things that we have started doing is, an example is brewers' spent grain. Close to 40 million tons are wasted every year or ends up as animal feed. And one of the solutions that we found was, by participating or innovating in this process, was we realized that there is a value that can be derived in terms of the protein content which is there. And finally, what we ended up doing was we ended up partnering with a solution provider to convert this into a protein-based dairy drink, right? In the startups program that I talked about, we have again started, partnering with some new age startups. Like these are working on, let's say, fruit pulp-based drinks, beverage drinks, but with almost zero sugar, zero preservatives. So a lot of these newer drinks, which I would say traditionally we have not really focused on, but now we are seeing that there is a possible market, and it is also scalable, because if the Indian palate finally warms up to, let's say, zero sugar, then probably we can we can have much more offerings there. So yeah, a lot of things happening on that front.
No, thank you so much. I wish we had more time, but because across the panelists, I see a lot of opportunity to talk to each other, right? Because your point on looking at land pooling, it would have been interesting to hear from Mr. Ajeetan, that how you've looked at it and how you've addressed that. And I think high protein diets are the fad right now. I'm not sure about zero sugar. So, and I hope that next time when we come, that we are able to see a partnership between NIFTM and, one of the large companies. It would be great. But we also have Shweta from WRI, who's patiently been listening. But I think WRI has been doing fantastic work in getting the stakeholders together and keeping the conversation going. So Shweta, I would like to invite you. Just, building on what everybody has said, an action way forward, that what WRI India is doing to engage with the private sector and to keep the momentum going and build the momentum when it comes to food loss and waste.
Thanks, Devyani. So I think a little bit has already been touched upon by Sachin, that we are working on this initiative. I can talk about it more, of course. So we have been researching on food loss and food waste and how it is associated with businesses. Like, we have been studying a few businesses to see, is there a business case for reducing food loss and food waste? Global numbers suggest that there is. $1 invested returns a $14 return for anything done on food loss and food waste reduction. But for India, there's very little evidence, also because of the sector. It's for example, 93% is unorganized, very small is organized. So, but it's growing rapidly. The organized retail sector, for instance, is growing at a very fast pace. So we'll be seeing much more going forward, but I think we are at the stage where it's a great opportunity to learn from global things that did not work, and rather not follow them and actually do something right during this transition from unorganized to organized. So we have a few initiatives, global initiatives, which we are also doing here in India. One is the 10 by 20K by 30. So the name is basically, we engage with 10 big food businesses across the world, and reduce their post-harvest losses of 20,000 farmers. That's the 20K. By 50% by 2030, that's the SDG 12.3. So in India, we are working with ITC only right now, but we have other partners in different countries. So generally what happens is businesses are only interested in reducing their losses in their operations, and rightfully so, affects the direct profit, and they are more looking towards reducing losses and improving the efficiency. But this goes beyond this scope. This is associated with 20,000 farmers that they are sourcing from. Generally, businesses are a bit reluctant to why would we want to work with farmers, but I think a lot of businesses understand the value of it. For instance, if you work and build the supply chain at the farm, it will benefit your supply and consistent supply and business going forward. So what we are doing is, with ITC, we are working with them in building their capacity and providing technical guidance on how they can measure first their losses, like setting a baseline, and then identifying the hotspots, where the hotspots are, and then helping them take decisions on what strategies should be adopted. So our role is largely on guiding and providing the technical capacity. And similarly, we have an initiative of 10, 20 by 30, which is working with 10 businesses and the 20 suppliers. So here, suppliers can be any, like processing, micro, enterprise, small enterprise, medium enterprise. Here in India, we do not have any organization onboarded, but globally we have a lot of businesses that are part of 10 by 20 by 30. So these initiatives start the discussion. And also what we have been seeing lately is that businesses are interested in reporting their emissions. So we also provide a technical guidance on first assessing how much losses they're reducing, and then associating with GHG emissions so that they can report on how much emissions they can reduce from reducing food loss and food waste. Farmers would be a little scope 3 emissions, but again, providing the guidance and reporting on that. One very interesting thing that we have seen is businesses are reluctant to report on how much tons of waste is happening, and we understand so. Nobody would want to actually focus on the negative and this information can be taken into any context, right? So, but we encourage businesses to report the percentage reduction rather than reporting the actual quantity. So there are different means and ways that we are leveraging to engage with businesses and taking the agenda forward. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. I'm a little surprised to hear that businesses don't want to work with farmers, because what we heard on the panel here was all partnerships and collaborations. And if they're not with farmers, I think Mr. Dipten brought out such beautiful examples that looking at scalable partnerships. I was interested to know what it means in terms of resource commitment, time commitment, trying to identify those innovations, you know, because that in itself is a huge task. And I think it's a call to action. Maybe you can do it through your social media also to Indian businesses, because I think it's high time, and I'm going to digress a little, but I personally feel that it is time for India to tell its story on sustainability, right? That we learn from global examples, but we do some fantastic work. It is not to say that we become complacent or we are doing everything right. We aren't. We aren't, but we are also doing some very nice things, and I think it's time we build that story, we build that narrative, and initiatives like the 10 by 20 by 30 is actually an opportunity to showcase that, because unless we go out there and talk, you know, we are always listening. We are only being told what to do, okay, that this is the way sustainability should be looked at, and I think there is time. This is an opportunity, and we are getting some great examples that we are seeing here on the panel. So it would be very good if we can actually put together some as more detailed case studies. I think Deepan also laid out a business case. You've talked about measurement, right? And we can look at what some of those things that have worked successfully. I think Mr. Sachin had to log off, so he's left. But even deep diving in what it has meant for different stakeholders. So it would be an interesting thing to understand that when you've looked at value chain interventions and when you've looked at that mutual value creation, how has that really panned out? You know, what makes it work? Because I think that's where everybody is grappling. How do I look at redistribution of value? How do I actually make the collaborations work, right? We know we need to do it, but how do we do it? I think the fragmented part, because I work with SMEs, is a reality. It's a reality that we work with. Our manufacturing sector is dominated by SMEs. Our farming is dominated by smallholder farmers. So in the foreseeable future, I think that's what is our reality, and that's what we will have to look at solutions for and make them work. But I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone on the panel. I think I learned lots. I always make little notes and then I go back and read more. So I think it's always very exciting. And it's always good to know, and I really wish that we can get it more and more out there for more people to learn from it, to adopt and talk about it. So thank you so much. Any questions from the audience that anybody, I know it's not that late in the evening and we did have a tea break in between. Any questions? No? Okay. That is, I think you can still send your questions to WRI if something comes to mind, and they can take it up. I did have lots of questions, sorry, but I will take it up individually, because it was, if I may, if I have a couple of minutes, right, that it is good to probably get into the nuts and bolts of it. You all touched upon the success factors, but you know, success doesn't happen overnight. There are many bumps that you have to face, right? And like for example, how do you get everyone in the value chain together, right? What is the effort that goes into aligning everyone's goals and a vision? Or when you talked about innovations, even having to identify the different kinds of whom do you partner with, who identifies the innovations, right? Sometimes companies can do it. If some company can't do it, then how do you do that? An academic institution which is going and knocking on doors, what do you start changing that you actually unlock finance? And I think despite very circular systems and a clear model where you said we've used every waste, I think what Mr. Ajeetan talked about is a very strong example of a circular food system. We are not talking about it enough, right? Nothing is wasted, everything is used. How did we get here? And what is still missing? You've already talked about it, right? Horticulture is perhaps low value when it comes to banana, so that investment is not happening. How do you make that work? And what Shweta talked about, that how are these initiatives, how can we actually, why do the businesses not want to engage? Because now we are talking about global commitments, we are talking about emission reduction, we are talking about your customer being more aware. If I want to export, there is no way we can export right now without, especially to Europe, without knowing what your data is. Because you will have to show you. So why are we not willing to make those investments? I think it's time we ask those questions and try and address it. So I'm going to stop. I think I'm going to be a very disliked person if I continue talking. So thank you so much. Thanks, WRI. Yeah, we're going to call it quits.
If all the panelists could just stay back for a bit. Thanks a lot, Devyani, for such a lovely panel discussion. Thanks to all the experts over here. And so I would just invite Ruchika Singh, Rituja Basu, Anar Bhatt from WRI India to help us launch the Caselets Compendium, and in the presence of all the panelists over here. Mimansha, if you can just help us with the